The mansion was silent, except for the soft scratching of a pencil under a dim flickering lamp. In the corner of the vast library, where gold-trimmed books lined the walls, and the scent of old paper filled the air, a little girl sat barefoot on the carpet, her tiny fingers gripping a worn-out notebook. Her eyes squinted at the page, struggling to catch the faint light from the dying bulb above. She didn't notice the tall shadow forming behind her, the shadow of the mansion's owner, the billionaire no one dared to approach after dark. Before we dive deeper into this powerful story of kindness and second chances, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Everyday Kindness, and let us know in the comments how this story touched your heart. Richard Alcott was a man of numbers, silence, and discipline. The world saw him as an icon of power, a self-made billionaire whose empire stretched across industries, a man who could command respect with just a glance. But behind his marble walls and guarded smile, there was a loneliness money could never fix. His mansion, though beautiful, echoed with emptiness. Every room spoke of absence, his wife gone, his son studying abroad, and his heart buried beneath years of regret. It was late one winter night when Richard came home earlier than usual. The city outside shimmered under a drizzle of rain, and the echo of his polished shoes filled the hallway as he entered the library, a place he hadn't visited in months. He planned only to grab a document and leave, but then he saw her. A little girl, maybe 8 or 9 years old, sitting cross-legged on the floor, her small frame swallowed by the dim light of a desk lamp. Her school uniform was slightly torn, her socks mismatched, her shoes placed neatly beside her. She was writing furiously, whispering the words as she copied from a thick book that was clearly too advanced for her age. Richard froze, anger flashing first. No one was allowed in his library, especially not the staff. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice echoing through the high ceiling. The girl jumped, nearly dropping her pencil. Her wide eyes met his, fear flooding her face. I'm sorry, sir," she stammered. "I didn't mean to, I just needed to finish my homework." Her words hit him strangely. "Homework?" She nodded quickly. "Mama was cleaning the dining hall, and I didn't want to disturb her. The lights in our room don't work, so I came here." Richard frowned. "Your mother is Maria?" The girl nodded again, her voice trembling. "Yes, sir, I'll go. Please don't be angry with her. It's my fault." She clutched her notebook to her chest as if it were something sacred. Something inside Richard stirred. He noticed the bruises of exhaustion under her young eyes, the patches on her uniform, the pencil chewed to half its size. She wasn't there to play or cause trouble, she was there to learn. "Sit," he said quietly. The girl froze. "Finish your work." Her lips parted in confusion. "Yes, sir." He walked to the nearby wall and flipped the main switch. Instantly, the grand library lit up, warm golden light flooding the shelves and carpet. "No one should study in the dark," he said softly. The girl blinked, unsure how to react. Slowly, she sat back down, clutching her pencil. Richard stood by, watching her as she bent over her notebook again. For a man who had built empires and broken rivals, this moment a child. As quiet dedication felt far more powerful than any victory he'd known. The next morning, whispers filled the mansion. The staff couldn't believe it. The billionaire had breakfast with Maria's daughter. He had personally asked the chef to prepare pancakes for her, then walked her to the gate himself when she left for school. Maria, her hands trembling, came to his office. "Sir, I'm so sorry," she pleaded. "Lily shouldn't have been there. Please don't fire me." But Richard stopped her with a raised hand. "Maria, how long has your daughter been studying like that?" Maria lowered her eyes. "Since her father died. I work double shifts to pay for her school. She studies wherever there's light. I tell her to rest, but she says she'll be a teacher one day. She wants to help others like her." Richard leaned back in his chair, silent. Something deep in his chest tightened, an emotion he had buried for years. His own son had every privilege, private tutors, expensive gadgets, endless opportunities. Yet here was a child with nothing but determination and hope. That evening, when Lily came with her mother, Richard had a surprise waiting. On the long mahogany table lay a brand new study desk, stacks of books, pencils, and a small golden lamp, the same kind that had flickered weakly the night before. Lily's eyes widened. "Sir, is this for me?" He smiled faintly. "For as long as you keep studying hard." Tears welled up in Maria's eyes. She tried to speak but couldn't. Richard only nodded. "You've both worked harder than anyone I know. It's time someone noticed." Weeks passed, and Richard began to look forward to Lily's visits. She came every evening after school to read in the library while her mother worked. Sometimes he'd watch from afar, pretending to read the newspaper as she sounded out difficult words or solved math problems aloud. Once, she asked shyly, "Mr. Alcott, why do you have so many books?" He chuckled. "Because they're full of people who taught me how to dream." "Then maybe they can teach me too," she said, smiling. That night, he stayed longer in the library than he had in years. Watching her reminded him of his late wife, who used to read by the same lamp. It was as if the light Lily had lit within the mansion had reached something in him that had long been cold and forgotten. A month later, an unexpected visitor arrived, the principal of Lily's school. She carried an envelope. "Mr. Alcott, I believe this belongs to you," she said, smiling. Inside was a letter written in a child's careful handwriting. "Dear Mr. Alcott, thank you for letting me study in your big library. I think books are magic. Someday, I'll buy a big house full of them too, and let every child who has no light read there. Your friend, Lily." Richard's hands trembled as he read it. The billionaire who once measured success in profits and prestige now felt wealth in something far greater: kindness. That evening, he called his lawyers and made a decision that would surprise everyone. He established a foundation, the Light Project, dedicated to building libraries and study centers for underprivileged children across the country. The first center opened just months later, named Lily's Corner. At the ribbon cutting, Lily stood beside him, wearing a new school uniform and the same bright smile that once lit up a dark corner of his mansion. Cameras flashed, reporters crowded around, but Richard spoke only one line that silenced everyone. "The richest light is the one we share with others." If this story warmed your heart, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Everyday Kindness, and share it with someone who believes small acts can change lives. Years later, as Lily grew into a confident young woman, she kept a photograph of that night, the night she studied in the dark, and was found by a man who finally saw light for the first time in years. And every time she walked into one of the libraries funded by his foundation, she whispered the same promise: no child will ever have to study in the dark again. And somewhere beyond the pages of her books, the spirit of a once lonely billionaire smiled, knowing that a single act of compassion had turned his legacy from power into purpose